Well, hello there, Mr. Joseph Armenio. Welcome to the 121st developer
Is it
update.
really? Is it really 121st? Are you serious about that, or are you just making it up?
No, I'm really serious. I thought because Cushy and I just did the 120th a week and a half ago.
Better man than me. I never counted.
Yeah, well, I think I'm a little off, but it's close enough. Like within one or two episodes of each other, that's for sure.
We'll take it.
Yeah, I mean, you guys, UNCW did the heavy lifting all the way up to like episode 80 or 90 or something. You guys,
Oh, I used to do these solo. It was so painful. I'd like sit in my basement and record it in like 20 pieces, and then send 20 pieces to Andy and say, "Andy, fix it, please."
poor Andy. Well, we're
Best
making up. We're making up for him with these live shows. He doesn't have to do shit. He just,
thing. Yeah,
yeah. It all averages out, just like the block time in Ergo.
nice.
Oh well, you asked me earlier today what. Oh, we've got one viewer at 2 a.m. here in New York, so that's perfect. Let's see if we get any more.
Welcome.
Welcome. They'll watch it tomorrow. Um, Cheers. I'm drinking some sort of clear liquid.
This is iced tea. If anybody's asking.
Yes, very good. So about 5 minutes before Joe said that he was ready to jump on, he's like, "What's the topic?" And I said, "Topics are for pussies." We're just gonna wing it. Like, what's the guy's name? Who's the falafel guy, the loofah guy,
I have no idea.
the Fox News anchor who said, "Fuck it, we'll do it live."
Oh,
Now I gotta look it up. It is Bill O'Reilly. There we go. There we
nice.
go. All right. So why don't we talk briefly about? I don't think we've covered a little bit about Ergo hack, right? I don't think we covered that too much. Let me ask you,
No,
Joe.
yeah.
What project were you most excited about, or give me a list of projects that you were
It's hard
excited
to
about?
say. Like, I wasn't a judge this time because
Well, you know that's because the results,
there have
were
been
judged within
complaints.
a week.
Yeah, there have been complaints that I'm too slow, and okay, it's probably valid, but it's also incredibly hard.
Oh, it's so
Like,
difficult. Yeah.
because you have, let's say you have something, I don't know, let's say what MG Pi was doing with multi-sig, right? The ability to take like the barrier of entry in terms of like the difficulty of the user experience and drop that to where most people can use multi-sig, right? That's huge.
That is.
That's huge. That's a huge tool. Now in terms of like um you know the UX experience on Ergo, like, that's a massive evolution, right? And then you have other things that it's like, okay, well, you could look at what Alex is doing. I'm not going to vote for Alex. I never would anyway. I don't think he participates to win. Um, but you look at like a trustless relay,
Yeah.
um, on Ergo, and it's like, okay, well, that's one of these things where you put it in place, and the long-term viability and potential of there is huge. And so it's like, okay, well, how do you judge the difference between something that could be incredibly impactful into the future and open up new DeFi frameworks and really change the world a little bit, right, on Ergo, versus something that really is massive in terms of the improvement of security and the user experience in the short term. I don't know how to judge that trade-off. That's why I
Oh,
was a terrible
really
judge. And
difficult. I remember
yeah,
the first time. Well, I judged the last Ergo hack. I helped judge the last Ergo hack, and I spent meticulous time going through everything, looking at everything, and then I thought I had an idea of what I wanted, and I go to the form that they send us to fill out to judge, and there's comments there about suggestions, and I'm like, I lost it there. I was like that. That took me another week or more to fill out at that point. You gotta have some insightful comments about why you judged it the way you did, or maybe tips about something. That's extremely difficult after trying to figure out what the hell's going on with all the projects. So Yeah, yeah. It's
I always suffered with the time horizon trade-off, right? It's like, okay, so this is impactful today, and that's incredibly valuable. But then you look at the net potential of something else that, if it does see some love over time, could be huge. And how do I make a choice there? I don't know. I'm not a very good judge. I'm just a lover, you know. That's the truth. I was like, "Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. That's awesome. How do I pick?"
yeah, in all the freaking I think this Ergo hack, Ergo had 8, there were a lot of really, really good projects. It was like,
Yes,
yeah,
atomic swaps on Lightning, like,
yeah,
that's awesome.
duck pools. I mean, goodness
Yeah,
gracious.
option pools,
Yeah.
that was an amazing little, thing they put together. So how do I judge that? This time I didn't have to, and it was very peaceful. It's the best Ergo hack ever because I didn't have stress over, like, because people are, listen, they're putting their time, their energy, their thoughts into, putting that out, and it's like, I just kinda wanna reward everybody, but then it's also a contest, and I'm I'm just not a good I'm not a good judge.
Well, that's funny. It's funny you say that because what's it called? Glasgow put up a vote on Padilla to give every team 100 ergs that entered.
Yeah.
So I thought that was great.
Yeah,
And
I
then
am gonna release some Armeanio prizes, but
that's right.
I'm going to, my plan, don't tell anyone,
Okay,
uh,
we'll
is
keep it
is to
secret.
wait until everybody else gets paid, and then I have an idea of, like, it changes my logic a little bit
Yep.
because I wanna reward people who did great work. And then it's like, okay, I can look at, like Rosenport, right? And be like, okay, well, even if they don't win the Ergo hack, I think there's, value there that the Rosen team should put up money, right? That's a great tool. We should support them.
No, could
So
you
I
imagine? Yeah,
I
look at
just want to,
Rosenport. Look at Rosenport for miners as it is. Just mine right to a Rosenport wallet if you could, and just wait. And when it reaches a certain threshold, the bus goes over, and your crypto's at another chain right from mining. So it kind of enhances that unminability of other stuff. If you mine Ergo, you can move to other places, kind of thing. So
yeah.
lots of stuff open for that. Super cool.
So I'm gonna wait, and then I'll play cleanup, right?
How convenient, Joe.
That's the best. That's the best plan. It solves my stress,
It
because
does.
I've been in a couple Ergo hacks where it's like, okay, well, I don't know how to pick the winner because they're not really running the same race.
No,
Like,
no, it's crazy. It is. It is. You're like picking in these cases, it's really you either have to pick, okay, what's going to be the best for Ergo in the long haul in this, or you have to go along the lines of I think this is awesome and personally I think this is the better one. So yeah, when I did it, I had to make a choice. I had to say, okay, am I thinking about, yeah, this is going to further the development of Ergo and adoption and that kind of thing, or what are the intricacies of this, and is this on my level of amazing viewing this or that kind of thing. So yeah, definitely tough.
I just
And
get lost in my
we
own head.
got Rustin. We forced kind of volunteered Rustin to judge it, and I honestly don't think there could have been a better judge. That man takes
Yeah,
that stuff seriously. He
that
was
Rustin,
looking through stuff,
don't
asking
give
through
me
videos.
compliments. He won't turn up.
No,
No, Rustin's amazing. I love what he's doing with the podcast. I learned I was on Spotify the other day
you
because,
can ask Alexa to play the Ergo podcast. Yeah,
yeah, I learned that the other day that I was on Spotify. It's Rustin's work. So cheers to
yep,
that.
exactly. Um, all right, what else we got? So that was Ergo Hack. We've got Ergoversary coming up on July 1st. We got a bunch of guests in the spaces that we're hosting on July 1st at 4 p.m. UTC, I believe, which is noon my time, noon Eastern time.
Yeah.
What is that? That's 10 o'clock your time. Is that too early, Joe?
No, I'm up early. I'm with the sun, man. Every day, I'm with the sun.
Does the sun rise at 9 o'clock over there?
No, it's usually sooner.
Oh boy.
No, I'll be honest. I have a dog that, like, when nature wakes up,
It's up.
he's up. Like, there's stuff outside.
I
Let me
gotcha.
out.
I have to drag my dog out of the bed to go pee, so Yeah, that's
Different,
funny.
different.
Yeah, different breeds. That's for sure. And then we're trying to make some videos. I know there's a video that we're trying to put together with at least half a dozen or 10 community members, kind of just like an overall general chat about
Awesome.
Ergo, where it's been, where it's from, kind of hear some new faces. And then we'll do a Sigmanauts video, kind of where the SIGs are, where they came from. And then there's another secret video I'm hoping to try to think of something and put together. It involves you too, Joe. So I think it'll
Yeah,
be fun.
just ping me. I'll do a Rosen video.
Are you
Try to
doing
get
too? Are you
yeah.
you and MHS or just you or?
It might just be me. Let's see if I can rope MHS into it, then it'll be both. But
Rosen will be delayed another week for
yeah, it's one of those things.
trade-offs.
Yeah. But no, I'm really looking forward to that. It's pretty amazing considering where Ergo started and where it is today. I think that's really awesome to see.
I've got a topic for you, Joe.
What's that?
Let's see. What about we talk about how Lord of the Flies crypto gets when things start dipping?
Oh, you're talking about cannibalism.
Yeah, you got it.
Yeah. No, that's always the case.
So let's think about why. Why is that the case? Why is that?
No,
I mean,
because
we know crypto goes in cycles, and these people
yeah,
aren't cashing out every single second of the
listen,
day.
I would just say that for people, what does money represent in life? Survival, right? That's just is what it is. And so you have some people that I don't know. I would say may have over allocated into risk assets, and so when the market is not moving in their direction, it brings up their survival instinct. What happens when people's survival instinct is kicked to a high gear? They get a little animalistic, right? They get a little bitey. Um, that's just life sometimes, right? So I've always tried to say, hey, manage your risks, trade well. You got to take care of yourself in life. I know that there's a lot of people that I don't know, they come into the crypto space and like the hyper volatility is seductive, right?
It's
It
like
just is
gambling
seductive.
sometimes. Yeah,
Yeah,
casino.
yeah. I mean, really, it is. So it's like, okay, you have this new thing that drops, and everybody looks at the couple of wallets that make out really well, and I guess congratulations, you called red 4, the wheel spun, and you ended up there, right?
Yep.
But nobody ever talks about the other money on the table. And really, sometimes I look at the crypto space and it's more or less kind of greedy and insane. I was really interested in cryptocurrencies because it provided really unique assumptions that our current system really fails to deliver, right? So, I've made the joke many times on AMAs that monetary policy reminds me of like electing the Pope, where these old fuckers go into some room somewhere and everybody's standing around looking at the chimney to see what color the smoke is. And, they're betting on the market like, oh, the Fed's going to be dovish today. They're going to be
Yep.
hawkish today. And, everybody places their bets and then we sit around and we look at the smoke, right? But then if you look at kind of the underlying financial management of, well, let's say the United States, I mean, and the debt is not really localized to the United States, but we have, we're what, $35 trillion,
Oh
$34 trillion.
Jesus.
God knows the unfunded liabilities that technically you need to count
34
as,
trillion. Yep.
yeah, the financial, I don't know, long-term assumptions are not good. Every fiat currency goes to zero. And
Yeah,
so this
I
idea,
saw that comment you had in Baseless today. You were
yeah,
firing away, sir.
well, I think that sometimes people need to be reminded why the cryptocurrency space started. It had nothing to do with like gambling over.
Speculation. So how do we do?
Yeah,
How do we blend that, Joe? How do we stop? you're never going to stop people from
No,
gambling,
you're
casino.
never gonna stop people
So
from
I'm
like
sitting there
highway
basically I'm catching up to your 240 messages in basis. Cushy started off, I think, and then you jumped in afterwards. But
Yeah.
I'm sitting there thinking, like, how do we get people, like, I don't, here's an example. Like, I remember, what's it called? I was talking to my brother about something, and he was
Mhm,
talking about um how he can't understand how people can't see people's views from other sides. And I
mhm,
was like, well, I tried to have a conversation about something, but I can't remember how it went. So like literally an hour later, there was like, we were drinking something, like we were eating dinner, and he grabbed some soy milk, starts drinking it, and he's like, oh, you got to try this soy milk. It's delicious. I was like, I tried it. I'm not a fan of it. He's like, how do you not like soy milk? Like, how do you not like it? It's the most delicious thing in the world. I was like, dude, you're just like negating your point from 2 hours ago, like you said, that kind of thing. So that brings me to think, how do we sitting in a basis and reading it? I thought to myself, I feel like I'm totally into crypto for a different reason than these people
yeah,
talking are into
I
it. So
listen,
yeah,
how
how
do
do
I
we merge those kind of things, or how do we leverage or live in harmony and peace there as far as that
I
goes?
think you have different time horizons. That's just the simplest way I can put it. You have different incentives and different time horizons. I would say you have some people in the crypto space, and this is not just Ergo, but you have some people that more or less they dedicate their life to saying, okay, well, you can look at privacy, you can look at properties of money, you can look at like this idea of creating a open digital economy over the internet, and they're kind of in for the long term, right? Because they look at potential fiat crises, central bank digital currencies, an ever encroaching monitoring state that allows users to have very little privacy when it comes to their money or their personal life, and they say, hey, that's not the world I want to live in, right? And so uh, I would say there's some mind share that is really thinking, 10 years in advance, 20 years in advance, 30 years in advance. What's the world going to look like? Right. And how can we try to build technologies that shape at, worst case, some counter economy that we can, participate in on some level
Of
and avoid,
fairness. Yeah.
yeah, and avoid systems that are just digital prisons, right? And then you also have traders who are watching the 5-minute chart and they're saying, hey, this, is going up, this is going down, this is going around. You have a bunch of, you know, sometimes more, I'm just going to say more or less insane influencers in the space
No,
that,
no, we got to start calling promoters, Joe, what they are. They're not influencers, they're promoters.
yeah, basically.
They have no unique thoughts of their own, man. They're not influencers. They're not influencing anything. They're literally promoting something because they're promoting unoriginal thoughts. So,
No, usually more or less what happens is they take a position and then they market it,
yep.
right? And they say, come to me. And, it's like let's create a narrative. Let's try to, extract capital from that narrative.
Or they
And
get
then,
paid to take a position.
yeah, or they get paid because they've, built clout or hype or whatever. That like there's a totally different time horizon there. Like there are people in crypto that they're scanning, they're plugged into Twitter and they're like, oh my god, look at this meme coin, maybe that's going to do it, and like they're constantly trying to
Yep.
make moves. And so that's a very different mentality than saying, okay, well, like what's the future going to look like in 10 years and how do we shape it? Um like I don't think those are ever going to be fully compatible, to be honest. Because whenever you're talking like those differences in time horizons, there's just a different mentality, right?
Well, I mean, right at some point, this system that we're developing is going to be quite a bit less volatile than it is now, right? At some point,
Yeah.
it's got to be. It's got
Well,
to slow down.
you look at Ergo itself. A part of the monetary inflation that it's going through, it was quite rapid. It was intense. Like if you look at the distribution curve of Ergo, which we're still stepping down, But yeah, I mean, that's had some very unique monetary policy. A big part of that was to move towards this idea of demurrage based security mechanism where all of the value on Ergo is potentially available to the miners, and there's a certain incentive to stay active and secure it. And that's a new experiment in the cryptocurrency space. I think there's a lot of value in that. It creates a lot of really unique long-term properties that are beneficial. But again, you go to time horizons, right? And sometimes I don't know, sometimes like the marketing time horizon is now. Like you want to capture everybody's attention now for 15 seconds and
Hmm.
sell them something. And then you have other people that are like sitting back and trying to think deep and like, okay, well, what can we build that, if we can build gold backed stable coins, right? And you have all of these dealers all across the planet, which are it's more or less like its own peer to peer network physically. Like there's a ton of shops that, will buy and sell gold, right? And so if we could build a product that's digital and it's stable enough, could we potentially create like an open network where any of these dealers could potentially charge their own premium and settle physically? Like how cool would that be? Then, it's like we've fulfilled e-gold, the digital currency from like 1996 on Ergo. That would be cool as hell. But that's something with a long term time horizon because it takes a lot of tools. And then, you need to take the idea and it needs to prove itself over time to where some people are willing to take the risk to actually step in and say, okay, there's profit margin on that premium. And, maybe there's some flexibility there in terms of settlement where you could, um, expand, the profit margin a little bit because it's crypto based.
Hmm.
But that's not going to happen overnight. That's not a 15-second like marketing pitch, right? That's something that's going to take solid infrastructure and good engineering, and then it's going to need to survive volatile markets. And it's a journey in and of itself. But if you look at the long-term potential, could we potentially create that in 5 years, 10 years, 3 years? Sure, potentially. But if you're looking at the 5-minute chart, what does that have to do with the price of tea in China, right? And then you get into like, oh, you know, this person that's more or less popular made a tweet,
Hmm.
right? And so people, there's totally different time horizons that I don't think are so compatible. Um,
Well, I mean, look at today. If I had to jump off Twitter today because it just didn't upset me, but I was like, what the fuck? Like stuff's going around like, oh, Cardano's the next soul for meme season. I'm like, oh my fucking god. And then I see a token of a pig have like over what was it, a million, like in the first day, a million market cap.
when it comes to that short term stuff, I just say it's crypto, baby. I've been, we could go back to like ETH and the ICO season 2017. Everybody's hot. Everybody's selling all kinds of random shit that probably doesn't even make sense. But in the short term horizon, everything was hot, right? And so everybody's super excited. But if you actually look at like what turned over and what delivered, suddenly is very small, right?
you know,
And
I
that's one thing, like, in a way, it really bothers me about the crypto industry. This is its own little side tangent, but fuck it, I'm live, I'll talk
fuck
about
it.
it. One of the best product market fits for crypto itself has been stable coins, right? And if we look at what's rolling out, in Europe and probably in the United States and other jurisdictions eventually, like they're taking all of the best qualities of like potential stablecoin use and just murdering them, right? So, you can say freezability reporting, like
Oh fuck.
suddenly you're
The
you're
PayPal
taking
freeze. Yep. Yep.
yeah, suddenly you're taking okay, like digital dollars. I'm not you can read baseless anyway, but I'm not the biggest fan of fiat stable coins, and there's decent reasons in my opinion. A big part of it is it's a huge attack vector in terms of regulation because, well, you're essentially counterfeiting money. There's no other way to put it. You can say, okay, well, it's backed by a treasury, and so we've created a digital representation. But if I, as a citizen, said, okay, I own bonds, and so I'm going to make Joe bucks, and I'm going to sell Joe Bucks on the street, right? There would probably be a problem with that.
Hmm.
But we're doing it online, and so there's less of a problem, I guess. Um, it opens up just huge legal questions in terms of, like, what does compliance look like? And so I think that having something like gold or silver backed stable coins is more valuable, because you already have networks that are trading those assets that are more or less decentralized and distributed across the planet and pretty much available in every jurisdiction. And if we can create some profit margin for them to extend their business, that makes sense. And you avoid a lot of the potential problems that you could run into with fiat peg.
Hmm.
But I really think that's one of the most valuable product market fits that crypto's found, because most people globally do not want volatility, right? A lot of the meme coin traders and things like that, they have enough stability in their life that they can gamble. But if you're somebody that you're in a you know economy that has massive inflation, and you wake up and the value of your money has changed, having access to something that's more stable is incredibly valuable, because people in that situation, they want their money to just preserve power from when they're in the back of the bread line to the front.
Yep. And we
you know
forget about that too here in this bubble. Like, I was talking to somebody the other day in the mining chat, and they were going to test out some software, and I was like, they're going to test out a grid bot or something. I forget what it was, but
hmm
I was like, "Oh, you should test this out. You should test it out." And they're like, "Yeah, I don't have much crypto to spare for this kind of thing."
hmm
And I was like, "Oh, you can test it out with like 20 ergs or 30 ergs." And he was like, "Yeah, exactly. I don't have 20 or 30 ergs to spare for this." And it's just brings you back to the realization, that
yeah, there's a
what
lot
we're
of
doing
people.
and why we're doing it. Yeah.
There's a lot of people that represent the crypto market that are first worlders, that are well off, that are just
Yeah.
fucking around for fun,
Yep.
right? And then you have a whole different subset of humanity, and then that's the part of why we've said, okay, well, having like low barrier of entry and the best security assumptions are important. We'd love the Nepo Pal ultralight node wallet, right? That you can run on basically any device. That
Yeah. How are these fuckers supposed to do a transaction on ETH when, a couple of ergs, I don't mean to say fuckers, I mean fuckers in a good way. How are these guys supposed to do a TX on ETH when it's like, it could be $5-10 a fucking TX? That's like,
that's
could be half
well,
their bag for shit's sake for the week. It's like,
no,
what's the
there's
usability of this shit? What are these systems? What are they even propped up for? It's fucking crazy.
I one thing I did like about ETH for a while, right? And this is another thing that
This isn't therapy, Joe. You don't have to say a good thing after we say a bad thing.
no, I have to say a good thing here, because it's something I'd like to recreate, right?
All right, let's hear it.
Um, I think one of the most valuable things about ETH when it was a proof of work network is when mining was profitable, you had people all around the world
Yeah, that's
that
true.
even if they had one GPU, right? They could earn, a couple bucks a month. And a couple bucks a month in some places goes a long
It
way. Like,
does.
it was legitimately putting food on people's tables. It's keeping somebody's lights on somewhere.
Yeah, I mean, for those people like in the U.S. or Canada or something like that. Think of a country like Italy, where you think in your head, yeah, it's Italy. That's a touristy country. It's a lot of wealthy people there. The average salary, I think, from what I understand from the people that we work with over for Cornell, um, it's like 1,300 bucks a month.
And that's a developed country.
Yeah, that's a fucking developed country. You can only imagine what it's like elsewhere. So
Yeah, no, so I have to say, like, nobody, everybody was talking about this green stuff, and it's great that ETH is now more centralized, because it's greener. But the amount of people globally that they rugged when mining was profitable was
mhm,
terrible.
yep.
That, like, I will stand by the statement, like, long term, I think that was a dumb decision. I know you can staking is sexy and you can do nothing and you can potentially earn rewards. And now you have, restaking, which is the newest sex machine over there. But, in terms of having electricity input and computational power to profit, that's hugely valuable long term. So
I agree.
I that was one of my favorite things. I think that the hardware wall that they had and kind of the first mover adoption they had was amazing, and that's one of the reasons why you'll see me every once in a while on Twitter or on socials trying to give a shit to the industry as a whole. Like consumer grade hardware proof of work can feed people. Like that's huge if you actually care about like decentralized networks and growing those energy inputs and creating value globally. That's massive. Anybody around the world with a basic computer, GPU can, or CPU in some cases even can, hop on and earn a little bit extra. That's real value that's being distributed globally. That's the kind of shit that I want to see in crypto. If you're
Yeah.
talking about the newest animal coin, I don't give a single fuck. Like
Every time I think about mining and the future of mining and that kind of thing, I I can't help but think of, and I think I said that's like 30 times, so people can fuck off if they've heard it already. But but it reminds me of like those futuristic things. Like you have this guy out in the desert farming moisture, and he's got all this high tech equipment, and he's selling that kind of thing, and that's how he makes a living. Same thing, and I think for fucking mining. You can do this stuff with just rigs you can put together yourself with your own hands, and then utilize the electricity that's coming in, or even make your own electricity from other devices that you have from natural
Yeah,
sources. Even, I mean,
there's
for
some
fuck's
really
sake.
cool there's some really cool solar miners out there. And I think it's going to be sexy again. That's my long-term thesis, I guess, is that if you look at all of this AI infrastructure and all of the computation, that's not going to slow down, right? And where proof of work is usually the most efficient is when it comes to repurposing excess, right?
Yep.
So you can look at Bitcoin. It seems as though, my opinion anyway, is it seems as though like ASIC mining long term is probably going to get eaten by power companies because they have the lowest input cost and they
Yep.
can load balance their own resources.
Yep.
In which case,
Keep the plant cranked all night when it's low use, then spin up the
yeah,
ASICs.
it's gonna be I think it's gonna be harder over time for like consumers to compete with that, right? Especially post halving, mining's probably been pretty painful for a lot of miners. One thing that's kind of unique with consumer grade is the barrier of entry is lower, right? And so I would say most people, if you look at kind of the distribution of proof of work assets, can mine something, right? And then it's a matter of saying, okay, well, what can they do with it? And that's kind of a big open question that I really would like to see. 5 years from now, I would like to see Sigma ported to multiple different energy input. Let's say CPU, GPU, different algorithms. We passed the 4 GB cards, and so we rolled
We
over,
did.
and so
Yeah.
a certain amount of GPUs are no longer available, and it's understandable. We got to kind of escape the
We got to harden. I know. Yep.
yeah, we got to harden over time, but it would be nice to have some mechanism where people could mine to Sigma and potentially even Ergo, right? Because we can create some really unique constellations of proof of work, and try to give people more access to financial tools.
Yeah.
But
No. Yeah. Go for it.
the truth is that time horizon problem will never be solved because it's just different visions, right? Like you have people that are legitimately here trying to like they look into the future, they don't like what they see, they're trying to change that.
Well, I mean, there's even on fiat, there's a huge, I guess, market for trading currencies, right? And hedging the bets between the differences of value between currencies. So when currency goes down, you swap into the other, you buy it after it's up, kind of thing.
Yeah,
So, I
there
mean,
is forex. That's there. There's huge leverage in forex because you have your own weird game where you have a lot of liquidity depth. You have central banks that can intervene. You have
Hmm.
all kinds of random factors that can be thrown in. But I tend to align to a certain degree with like the old fashioned Bitcoin philosophy that if you change the money, you change the world, right? Where the ability to control, not only the creation, but the distribution of money, it just is something that people suck at managing. It usually leads to insane choices. And, one thing that was trending a while ago is California spent X billion for a couple meters of railroad track that doesn't have a fucking train. Like who manages this?
Yeah.
Insanity. And you look at just the budget size relative to like the delivery of value, something is fucked. No other way I can put it. So, that's why I'm here, because I think, like, to a certain degree, governments can't be responsible for the creation and distribution of money without manipulating it and abusing it, right? And so, having some alternative system that's has better assumptions in terms of monetary policy, in terms of how the system actually functions, is better for humanity net net. And that's a long term vision. That's not going to happen in 5 minutes if somebody's looking at
No.
a trade. So we always kind of have to balance that. Um, if you look at like that long term vision, if the space as a whole is able to achieve that, it's a huge success. And that's a different metric for success than like the 5 minute moon.
Yeah, I mean, it's not going to be easy, right? People who hold power do not want to give up power. I mean, you
No,
control.
there's a lot of there's a lot of crazy regulations that are coming into play, whether it's stablecoin or even in the U.S. You say, okay, the 501(c)(6), the blockchain association, is not aligned with crypto values, in my opinion. You look at a lot of the people that kind of champion or parrot on the space, and, in terms of like regulatory adoption. You look at their previous calls, they've had terrible track records in terms of what they promote and what they do. But I don't know. Sometimes the crypto space's most popular voices are just ambulance chasers. Like there's no other way to put it. They like try to run in front of the narrative and say, "Oh, look at me, I'm important." I'm not. I'm not important. I just want to create some open source tools that help people. That would be like the best long term goal, is that at some point I can just fade off and pass the torch to new people who build cool stuff and have first principles in mind. Say, okay, how do we build like new forms of money, and how do we create distributed systems where people have clear assumptions in terms of how they work and how they can manage risk, and we have like these digital assets that transcend borders and are able to have some form of like local settlement, to where let's say gold, silver, if we could create that, then who cares what the base fiat currency is, because it's relatively
Right?
convertible
Yeah.
universally. So those are the kinds of things that I think about, not the
Well,
5 minute chart. I can't
well, I'm
I
glad you're
can't
young.
focus
I'm glad
on
you're
that.
young, Joe. You'll probably see it through in your lifetime, so that's great.
Yeah, it's a goal of mine to stick around and make that happen.
You,
um
what's it called? It's not. Well, it is often. People go through changing their minds. These some of these influencers that I've promoters that I've interviewed on the Dev Update. A lot of their takeaway, or a lot of their main point, is that you bring in the people that are chasing airdrops, meme tokens, meme coins, meme projects, that kind of stuff, and that's how you bring in the adopters. And on face value, I get it. You
I
bring those
don't agree
people in,
with
yes, they come
that. I
in,
don't
but the deeper you think about this is, you bring them in, there's no substance there. You bring them in, and yeah, your space gets bigger, and then it gets bigger with more people similar to that. I don't think it doesn't have that same kind of ideals, at least, that what Ergo is promoting and what's in the manifesto, and for the long term thing there. So yes. Sorry, go for it.
More often than not, that type of thing is a PvP situation, right?
Yeah,
I
100%.
gave like I'll use an example. I gave some shit to Kraken, the exchange, and some people sent me some private complaints like, "Hey,
Wait, stop. Oh, you
you
mean
need I
Ergonauts?
that happens."
Oh Jesus, yeah.
Some
You
people say,
get that every fucking week.
You're
You
rude."
forgot that to ask the person what their Twitter account was at the end of the series, or
Yeah.
you should tone it down a little bit.
No, but
Fucking
I
every
mean,
week.
if you really step back and you think about it, and it's like, okay, so promote Bowden and Trump coin, okay? In 2 election cycles, who's gonna care?
Yep.
Who's gonna care? Nobody. Nobody. I mean, two election cycles ago, who was running for the vice president of the losing party? Nope, nobody cares. Somebody out there knows, but
Mm-hmm.
the majority of the people, they don't give a shit, right? And so, to some degree, like I think the principles that major parties in this industry promote are just the wrong thing. Why wouldn't we talk about, like, hey, what is the benefit of decentralized money,
And we know the
right?
answer, Joe. We know the answer. Fucking
Well,
money and money. That's it.
I know
Yeah,
it comes
yeah,
down to
yeah. That's
time
it.
horizon.
Yeah,
It comes
exactly.
down to time horizons. Their time horizon is, we want to integrate an
Fucking
asset that is popular right now and gives
that
us high
makes us
fees.
money. Yep.
And if our users get fucked, we don't care.
Nope. We don't fucking give a shit. Yep.
Yeah. So,
And you
like
even have these big places like Coinbase who preach the opposite too. We're more regulated. We don't do this. And then they come out with Base, and fucking Brett is like this. What is Brett, like number 7 now? It's gonna topple some other meme tokens out there. It's like, what the fuck?
I don't know. I don't really watch it. But that's what I'm saying. I think that the time horizons and the incentives are a little screwed up sometimes. So, like, for me, why am I here? This is a long-term time horizon. That's what I care about. That's what interests me,
Yep.
right? And yeah, things are messy. You always have a certain, like, organizational friction with actual decentralization, where it's not, one company or one party
It's
that's
tough. It's really fucking
directing
difficult.
everything,
Yep.
right? But that's part of the beauty of it too. Um, and so a lot of the times I just sit back and I watch the space, and it's entertaining. But
No, I agree. I agree. I think those kind of things give more room for unique and special enclaves of like-minded individuals.
Yeah,
In the current systems, it's either you're this or you're not. And these systems that we're promoting here in Ergo and other, proof of work or decentralized or peer-to-peer networks, you get these enclaves of unique voices that can express themselves and do what they need to do without being, without having to conform
no,
to other
there's
standards,
definitely you go to some crypto events and, side events and community stuff. There's definitely, like, unique social organization, and that is
Yeah,
entertaining to me,
it is.
right? But I don't know. I tend to think, like, okay, 10 years from now, what can we do? Like, that needs to be kind of like the long term goal. And maybe sometimes, even in Ergo, I think we get some complaints sometimes, like, hey, you guys aren't paying attention to 5 minutes, 10 minutes a day, a week. You're thinking way too far ahead, and nobody understands what you're thinking. And then that's something we could definitely probably improve in terms of, like,
Well, Joe, when I was taught to drive, my stepfather, I sat behind the wheel, I was driving. My stepfather says, QX, you're focusing too close in front of you on the road, and you're looking at every single curve ahead of you very closely, and you're turning the wheel right every 5 feet. You're jerking the car on. He says, stop, look at the horizon, look at the far part of the road, focus on that, and drive to that. And instantaneously, it made a huge difference. And I think that's very relevant into where we are today on our discussion. Quit fucking looking at this. Oh, this token went down 10%. Fuck, I'm gonna sell everything. I'm gonna buy everything
well,
and then
it
sell it as soon
depends.
as it goes
It
up, and my
depends
life's
what
over.
people
Fuck.
it depends what people's initial intent was, right? Like, I don't think you can really I don't think you can
You don't
really
think we
give
can
people
change? You don't think we can, you know?
I think people are, they have their own incentive, their own reasons, and that's okay, right? That's okay to me, but simply because that exists doesn't mean that, I'm gonna change my long-term goals, right? I don't know, if you've been in the crypto industry for a while and you really kinda look at, like, history, there are things that burn hot for 3 months, 6 months, and, like, things just rotate all crazy.
I don't think I can name a meme token from the last bull cycle besides Doge. Maybe that's it.
Yeah, like Shiba
Oh
or
Jesus, I
something.
forgot about that shit. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. Like there were
yeah,
like
I mean,
30 different variants of Shiba, Shiba
yeah,
Inu, Shiba.
now there's so many dogs that it's like a wild street pack, right? I don't know what's happening. I can't pay attention. And then you have the dogs versus cats versus the other animals versus like that's its own rabbit hole that I'm sure that if you dive into, there is no bottom.
Yep.
But to me, that's just a sink that I don't want to waste my energy on.
No, you'd think that people would sit back and think for a second and say, okay,
No,
you
well,
know,
I listen. It's hard when there are quote unquote winners, right?
yeah.
Look at this. Look at this person. They bought dog with hat in the first 5 minutes, and now they have all of this money and
I mean, the money comes from somewhere, Joe. It fucking comes from somewhere.
everything you ever wanted. But that's sexy for a lot of people, and that's how broken money is, right? That in a way, that's how broken money is. That people go to that extreme. Uh, trying to make their dreams work.
You know, my neighbors used to call the lottery the stupid tax,
Yeah.
essentially. And I feel like this is similar, except the government's not getting the money. It's just somebody with a fancy YouTube channel that steered you in that
No, they
direction.
always do eventually, right?
Well, in the end, I guess, Joe, you're
Yeah,
right.
they always do eventually.
I'll drink to that one.
They always get their cut. Come on.
Well, I don't know. We do have a mixer, Joe.
Well, it's Ergo.
That's right. That's right. Optional privacy when you need it.
But like that, I don't know, that mentality, to me, it kind of bothers me, right? Because I don't want to honeypot people. And there's a lot of honeypotting, right? There's a lot of sticky in the space where people are they're trying to honeypot like, hey, come and buy this and it'll give you your dreams or whatever. But I tend to try to think, like, okay, 5 years, 10 years, what could we do? Like if we could actually create stable coins that are backed by commodities and we create settlement and premium and allow people to transfer relatively seamlessly in and out of the digital asset space into kind of their own local economy through some
Yeah,
distributed network of dealers, that would be cool as hell.
I would be.
Like that's the kind of thing that gets me excited because I could see that as more useful long term, right?
How
And
do
then
we
it's
do
like,
it, Joe?
well, first thing we have to do is we have to create the right framework. We've got
Well, I
Dexy
mean, we're
coming.
on our way, right? Yeah.
Yeah, we're on our way. We're working towards that. But if you look at the 5-minute chart, it's not going to happen. It's just not going to happen. And then it's like, okay, well, if we could, create these gold, silver coins or gold stable coins, why not silver, right? Why not try to distribute it across a couple of assets that people have some access to? And we can look at like stable coins in general where war breaks out somewhere and somebody leaves a jurisdiction and they can actually transfer their wealth with them. Like suddenly you've just made the potential for precious metals to be weightless. How cool is that?
Yeah, I mean, what about stable coins based on like chief exports of a certain region? What if a region sells or creates alpaca fur and that's like their entire economy, where they're only creating this kind of certain export? I mean, it'd be interesting to put stables against something like that too. I mean, it's limitless, right? You can fucking
Well,
put stable to
it's one of
anything.
the more interesting things about digital assets is this ability to create liquidity, right? And then it's just a matter of saying, okay, well, is that liquidity tied to anything that has this ability to transfer into reality, or is it more just financial games. And there's a lot of financial games in crypto that I don't see as incredibly valuable for most people. Um, just usually insiders dominate, influencers dominate, liquidity rotates really quick. Like there was a report that came out like during the Solana meme season, $50 million of retail money was getting burned a day. That's a lot of money. And
It's
it's like,
fucking
okay,
ridiculous.
that's a that's a kind of crazy metric to me anyway. But I don't know. I hate to say it, but I'm fucking old when it comes to this space now. Where like way back when, even the idea of pre-mining was like, oof, that's pretty toxic. Why would you want to create that type of monetary policy where you have seigniorage, where your
Hmm.
ability to produce assets is different than the energy input
Unbalanced,
required,
yeah.
yeah, to create them? You never hear things like that anymore. Now it's like, look at this. It's the next flashy thing. In 5 years, I don't know if it has any staying power or value. Social energy backing things is not so sustainable, right? I think a lot of people will look back at their trades in 5 years and be like, oh my God, it was Jinko jeans from the 90s. Right? Like it was fashionable for whatever time, and people,
I sure fucking hope so, Joe. That-
you know, I honestly think that's kind of going to be the case where a lot of people in 5 years, if they really look back at their, decisions, they're like, oof, you know, it didn't necessarily make sense. That was embarrassing. Um,
I mean,
and I hope that, people really look at, like, Bitcoin did a magical thing where you had, this ability to kind of be your own bank, right?
yeah,
And so my hope is that long term we can extend that to where you just give new tools and new possibilities for people to run their own financial life locally.
I, I would say one of the issues is too that these people that are doing this, that are sinking $50 million a day from retail, these are
Hmm.
people that most of them, I would say, I think it's safe to say most of them are too fucking comfortable. It's the same issue of why people don't go out and vote for president. You're too fucking comfortable. You got a nice TV, you got some beer in the fridge, you probably got a pool out back, maybe a good car in the driveway. You know, fuck it. You don't want anybody to take that from you. You're comfortable. You
Oh,
know,
well, it's one of those things. The first Bitcoin block was making fun of you know central bank bailouts, right?
mhm.
And we kind of went full circle to where now everybody's like, oh, the Fed is gonna ease monetary policy, and then liquidity is gonna flow into risk assets, and
Oh, it's like a bunch
you
of
know
people on their knees just waiting for whatever's shot out of the Fed's mouth for
it's
the rate.
wild.
It's
It
fucking
really is
crazy.
wild to look at it historically. Like, we went from a counter movement to central banks to where now most of the stable coins hold treasuries and subsidize central banks. Like, there's a weird full circle in effect that um, it just is what it is. I can say that probably the debate in terms of principles is just as divisive as um, different time horizons. Where if I say, okay, well, we should advocate for privacy to everybody and try to deliver that in an open source way with clear assumptions. And, I've had people actually message me and say, hey, can you delete the mixer? We don't like the look of that. And it's like, well, this is open source software that I
Let's
don't
take down
control.
GitHub.
Yeah, you're like, what do you want me to do? But that's where their mind is that, hey, this is not acceptable, and we want the government to come and bless the network. So,
I mean, that's the whole point. This whole point is you shouldn't have to have the fucking government come and bless the network. I mean,
well, it's splitting. I like long term. I don't think that governments are going to be super friendly to the idea that a distributed group of people can create
correct.
value
Value. Yep.
without them being in the middle. And
Yep.
so what do we see? What do we see is governments continually regulating and pushing to be in the middle, right? Hey, let's add some KYC, and let's add some, surveillance technology. Let's add, who knows how regulations are going to shift, right?
Let's partner with Snickerdoodle so we can keep tabs on everybody's wallet.
Yeah, and there's a lot of people that are like, hey, that's great because it's going to lead to more adoption. And then it's like, well,
What
I
kind
don't
of
see the
adoption?
I don't see the value versus PayPal at that point, to be
Yep.
honest. I really don't. And inevitably, we're probably going to see central bank digital currencies.
Oh
I would
yeah,
imagine.
yeah. And at
I would
that
imagine.
point, at that point, Joe, it's going to be no fucking different than the other leaders in the spaces. And I think at that point, Ergo is going to shine, and it's going to be painfully obvious to other people why Ergo is what it is and what we've been working towards. Hopefully,
Well,
hopefully.
hopefully. I mean, it's hard to say. It's one of these things where if you look at the net potential of a lot of stable coins in EVM, they basically have the potential to be central bank digital currencies, in my opinion, where it's like you have freezable assets that can constantly be traced and tracked, and like that's it's popular. And it's like, well, if it's regulatory compliant, then that's a good thing. And then more liquidity could flow into the system. And so I really think there's going to be a break at some point with first principles, to where it's like long term, the ability to be an actual unstoppable network that offers some counter economic value, is my long term goal. Like that's my thesis. I think that if you look at like, oh, we're going to trade, major stock markets on this decentralized exchange, et cetera, you're not going to be able to move into that space and keep like first principles. It's just not compatible. Like,
Yep.
okay, you can kind of um, be co-opted by an old system, but you're not actually going to deliver solid assumptions to everybody globally. And so I've said for a long time, like, my goal is to build for war, because inevitably I think that's how the space is going to break down. Is you have uh, projects, people, that say, okay, well, if we're compliant, then we're going to be temporarily blessed, but any real long-term benefits globally are dead, in my opinion. Um, I don't see the difference between PayPal and a stable coin that sits on a network that's regulatory compliant, because they're going to access the same user base, right? Part of the goal of cryptocurrency was to create neutral and open platforms like the internet itself.
Yeah, I think that sometimes people see that as a turnoff about the way people act and the way people talk about Ergo. These other projects that you're talking about, exactly. They will the amount of principles that they will give up to be included because they're afraid of failing and losing control of what they have, compared to what we have. It's more of a fuck you. This is what's here. This is what's built. Go ahead, try to stop it. Somebody else will pop something up and go, kind of thing. So that's scary to people. That kind of.
Well, I think on one level, if let's say that 5 years from now, you have a bunch of regulated networks, right? In my opinion, they're kind of all the same.
Exactly. The digital fiat, man. That's fucking it.
They're kind of gonna all be the same. So
It might as well be fully government backed digital fiat.
at that point, I don't see the value.
Yep.
Like, I really do believe the value of cryptocurrency is going to be who can survive. And Bitcoin actually did a really good job leading the way. Where how many times was Bitcoin attacked or banned in different jurisdictions, and it's still around, right?
Yep.
I think that survivability is why Bitcoin is king, because it's died, hundreds of times. And you know you can say, okay, Mount Gox gets attacked, and the value goes from what, $15 to a penny, and just all kinds of madness that it's been through, and it's still TikTok next block, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I really think that should be the net goal of open systems, is to try to be resilient, rather than compliant. Now, that's not popular for a lot of the VC space. That's not popular for a lot of the political, let's say, aligned side of the space, because they're going to immediately say like, "Hey, bad things can happen if you have."
I fucking
But
hate that argument.
well,
Yeah.
it's the value of like neutral money,
Yeah,
is
yeah,
that
exactly.
you have to be able to enable things that you don't necessarily agree with or like, in order for it to really be, I don't know, let's say free.
Yep.
So that's why I'm here. That's why I'm around.
I mean, tell me,
But
what do you think? What's the value in a system? Let's say these systems become fully compliant, and essentially they're digital fiat. All these, and there's no real difference between the two, except for some are run on $600 nodes per month, and others are maybe run on a little bit more meager nodes that are more affordable and maybe a little more decentralized. But they're all regulatory compliant. They're all stamped and sealed and that
then
kind of thing. What's the
we,
difference
we
between, why use that instead of fucking Visa? What the fuck? What's the fuck's the point?
we get into like the core split. Okay. And we already see this a lot where, like, from my perspective, like the most important thing about cryptocurrencies is the fairness of money itself, right? And a lot of what is sold to the general public is about kind of like the financial system or the financial network or the financial technology of the system rather than the money itself. Like, hey, we have all of these TPSs, we have all of this, throughput, we have this ability to scale, but then you look at how money itself was created and distributed and is emitted, is broken. Like, I don't know. I think to some degree that's one of the reasons why, um, I love proof of work. Like, I'm not gonna sit here and talk shit about proof of stake. I think it's more social money, and like you can look at like what Cardano's doing with governance, and that's crazy complicated. And then you get into politics and human nature and all the shitty side of the political sphere of like social interaction, I guess. But proof of work as like energy input money, it has always fascinated me because excess cheap energy is a limited resource, right? Like if I move into a jurisdiction that has cheap energy and I start using a lot of it, they're going to raise their price. Why wouldn't they? Because demand is there. So, like, if you look at hydropower or solar power or whatever, it's always a limited resource that proof of work is going to be chasing, whether it's on the energy side or the computational side.
Yep.
So it reminds me more of like a commodity based money where, it's kind of distributed globally and players are going to try to leverage whatever, resources are in their environment to maximize their profit potential. That fascinates me because it's why I liked crypto, from day one was proof of work.
Hmm.
Proof of stake in the social side, there's a lot of complexity, there's a lot of politics, there's a lot of drama, there's a lot of things that are really interesting because I mean, to some degree, governance in and of itself is always like a social animal. But um,
I mean, the regional fucking monetary system was based on proof of work. You're fucking, well, at least in early centuries, right? You're fucking digging shit out of a hill and unburying it and washing it off. You're fucking, it's proof of work, literally. I mean,
yeah, but I mean, there's a social aspect to money. You always have to kind of look at
sure.
that. So I'm not against it. I've never said, hey, with like there's some hardcore Bitcoiners that are like, hey, it's a scam and let's ban it. Why not? It's P2P money still. It's just a different assumption in terms of like the net input is like we're gonna build some social layer and get people to adopt it. But to me, commodity money's always made more sense because, well, energy and computation are something that kind of transcend fiat, right?
Yeah, right.
They're useful beyond just like a value exchange. They're their own type of commodity that more or less is going to determine the future of humanity. How
We
much
we
energy, how
we
much
got
energy region produce, and how much computational power do they have.
Yeah. We got a comment from somebody, from Lewis. He says, I'm an
Mm,
immigrant on a visa type permit. In case something happened to where the government wanted to kick me out, I would be okay because I use these systems, as in crypto, as a hedge
mhm.
against the government. Super, super cool.
Yeah, I mean, there's real value there in terms of being autonomous from one particular system. And that's a good example is like remittance and cross border payments, and even somebody that's in a jurisdiction that their actual status is more or less sketchy. Like their ability to hold their value wherever they go is hugely important, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean,
And that's
imagine traversing borders. How are you going to carry your value with you? Crypto's
well,
like a
I've said,
fucking perfect way for that.
yeah, I've said, like stable coins had a huge product market fit. And that's really been one of the cool innovations of crypto. But if I look at like the regulatory side and kind of what's coming out of the EU, like most of the first principles benefits are gone. And so I say, okay, well, that's like a major step backwards from my perspective. Now, I'm sure there's people out there in the crypto space that are like, oh, this is great because the government's gonna, approve of us, and then we're gonna be able to move money.
Fuck it. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Our 401ks are gonna
Jesus
increase
fucking
because
Christ.
some ability to access that type of liquidity. But usually, those people are more or less okay, right? Like if you actually have the type
Right.
of savings where you can build a 401k, you're blessed on this planet.
Yep.
Um, if you travel a little bit, you see the, you know, distribution of wealth. It is fucked.
Oh, it's so fucked, man. It is so fucked. Nothing like
And so,
nothing like revealing who an empathetic person really is, to have somebody travel and see that shit and see how they react to that. That's a really good litmus test. If you want to make sure you're marrying the right person, take them on a trip to a third world country. I'm not kidding. And go around, see how they react. See how they react to the people there, to the culture, all that kind of stuff. That's going to be a really good fucking litmus test. Um, yeah.
there's a lot of crypto stuff that I don't know. I hate to say it, but it's just built to leverage first world people and first world systems.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yep.
like I hope that long term, if we're actually going to create like an open, global, decentralized economy, we can deliver value everywhere. So let's see.
That's a hope, Joe. That is a hope.
That's the only thing interesting long term. Like if it's all about just random
Oh, if this
shit.
is fucking meme tokens for
Yeah,
life.
like
Crypto,
if
fuck
in
that.
5 years the only thing we deliver is shit that's popular for 3 months or 6 months or a year,
Fuck.
I wasted way too much of my life on this shit.
Yep. Yep. Fuck.
Run.
No, I mean that's why I'm here. Um oh shit, I clicked on the wrong fucking I just fucked up dev my dev update feed. I'll have to scroll back. But that's exactly why I'm here. It's something that I can, Joe, as you say a lot, if you can go to bed at night and put your head on the pillow
Yeah,
and
if
know
you
that
have peace where you lay your head,
yeah,
you're good.
yeah, and I know what I'm doing here, and what we're doing here is on that mission. It's on that course to do something different, do something that benefits everybody, everybody, anybody. I don't know
It's
what
anybody.
is
No,
anybody, right? Yeah,
I really think it's anybody.
yeah.
Like there's people out there that, they say, "Oh, we should build for everybody," right? And I think that's the wrong mindset. I think that if you actually have something that's open, and resilient, it's available for anybody that chooses to
Correct.
participate.
You're never going to be able to succeed
Yeah, you're never
giving
gonna.
everybody. Yeah, correct.
What do they
Matching for
say?
everybody.
Like,
Yeah,
you can make everybody happy some of the time, but nobody happy all the time.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Exactly.
It's not for everybody. It's for anybody.
Yeah. Well, Joe, we got to get to the dev update. We've been going for an hour and 9 minutes.
Oops.
It's 2:36 a.m. right here, and I'm not tired at all. I don't know what's wrong with me. All right, let me switch to the dev update chat right here. Here we go. All right, so what's it called? So Kushti was on a plane, I think, to start the dev update. So I had the honor of starting the dev update, and it looks like one person gave me a duck. Who was that? That was Death
Death
Gripson.
grip.
Thank you, Gripson.
Death grips on, sir, not death grips
Death Grip Son, right?
on.
Get Death Grip Son. Death Grips on. Okay, I get it. I get it now.
Yeah,
Let's call him Death Grip Son.
it's all right.
Okay, here we go. All right. You want to start or you want me to start, Joe?
No, why don't you start?
All right. Sounds good. So
From
this is
you, actually. So.
It is, I know. Kushti sent it to me earlier, so I posted it up here. From Kushti, Ergo Protocol and Reference Client R&D, Sigma 6, made mod queue operations and to signed to unsigned conversions. In this pull, working towards bulletproof's range check implementation.
He's playing with bulletproofs.
I know. Fuck,
People
man.
don't even understand.
I know.
That's awesome.
PR with new collections methods, costing and polishing mist. Kushti was on vacation last week, by the way, and Kushti's vacation means he just changes location and continues to do exactly what he was going to do.
It means he brings an Ethernet cable and rolls it from the Wi-Fi to the pool.
I'm like, Kushti, did you go to the beach? He's like, yeah, I was down there for like 10 minutes, 20 minutes. I'm like, what the fuck, man?
Some of
He's
us
like
burn.
writing code in the sand kind of thing, probably. All right, he's got a PR with new collection methods, costing and polishing mist, PR for improving collections quality, PR for global from big Indian bytes. Now working on PR get var from any input for, and there's a pull, addressing review comments for earlier PRs, Sigma 5X and Node. He reviewed this pull for Sigma State Interpreter, tested 5.022. It seems it's not very stable, so further testing, fixing is needed. Merged 5.022 into 5.1.0, so 5.1.0 is not very stable as well. From what I understand, so this uses 5.1 is going to use the ROX database, and then eventually they're going to swap or something, or one's going to continue. I don't know. He explained it at one point, but everybody's looking forward to the ROX database that runs a node, because I know I'm really bad and guilty at this, but sometimes my fucking servers run out of space. It's the worst with the node. You shut down, you clean up some space, you turn your node back on, and you fucking cross your fingers and you pray that it's not corrupted. Because if it's corrupted, you gotta resync the whole thing. And if it's an index node, you're like, yeah. So this ROX database, hopefully on 5.1.0, will solve a lot of those issues. Hopefully.
Well, we've got some big questions there long term. In terms of like the Explorer and indexing nodes, I tend to think that having some APIs on top of the node might be a good idea. But
no, I agree. I'd like a UI that's a better UI on top of the node that kind of replaces Explorer. There's been a lot of talk about that in the past, right? So you don't have to run this heavy layer on top of the node like Explorer. It's not.
Well, we get into this idea of peer-to-peer networks, right? And that, I don't know, man, in modern, like the crypto space, the idea of peer-to-peer networks seems so foreign compared to like what's popular and where people's focus are, because most people use other people's infrastructure, right?
They're not even we don't need to do that. Let's just go to what was it? Avalanche and go to their backend laboratory and spin up our own chain, right? With our own parameters. We'll just run it on Avalanche. Like, fuck. Like, what's the point? Am I playing a game or something? I mean, Jesus Christ. I've had too much tequila, Joe.
Oops. Well, that's how the cryptocurrency space started.
Yeah.
Is this idea of peer-to-peer networks, and that's kind of been abstracted to oblivion, more or less.
Yep.
And maybe that's something that we really needed to talk about, is peer-to-peer money, and what does that actually mean? Like, aside from, I can run a light wallet that runs on somebody else's server and submit a transaction that goes through a different, block producer than me. And, what does that actually mean, peer-to-peer money? We've abstracted that away to where it's meaningless as a whole for the industry. And that's a terrible thing.
There's nothing I like more, Joe, than Alien in not Alien 69, the other alien in in the Sig mining pool. I love those moments where the guy took a node, he put it on his Android phone, he
Mhm.
pointed his wallet to it, and he sent a fucking transaction out on the same device through his phone from Ergo Mobile to the node on his phone, Android. And he was like, "Holy shit, I get
You
it.
have
I
equal
get it
power.
now. Like I
Yeah,
fucking get it now." Yeah,
you have equal power,
I
and
love those moments.
you have the potential if you have, you know, a decent laptop or whatever, where you could actually help produce a block. Like, you're an end-to-end peer.
I
You
have
are the
to.
same.
I still have to wire $10,000 to the Cornell Blockchain Conference for sponsoring. The
Mhm.
Sigma sponsored 5,000. ES sponsored 5,000. It's been sitting in my bank account for about 2 weeks because I have to fucking get up. I have to bring forms of ID. I have to go to the fucking bank. I have to read the numbers to them 30 times to make sure that it's all correct. They have to print me out something. I have to verify it. Then they send it. And then I have to sweat my balls off to make sure and then call Riva and be like, Riva, check your bank account. Did it come? Did it come? There's no ledger that I can fucking check to make sure that it came. It's like, what a fucking pain in the ass, you know? So that's one of the things I actually talked to the Cornell Blockchain Conference about. Like, just take crypto, just accept crypto for payment.
If you're gonna
I'll
be a
send it to
blockchain
you.
conference,
I know. Come on.
like,
They know,
that's
they
terrible.
know, they know, they know, they know. They're young, they're getting there.
Okay. I'm not gonna say anything. I'll behave.
Yes, yes.
I'll
All right.
behave.
Dexy continuing to issue tokens and receiving the contracts. Code for us is deploying mainnet. Related off-chain bots to server. Chain cache reviewed a vulnerability reported by Dusek, allowing forging of note signatures. Going to fix it and update Schnorr verification examples on the form and repos. Other matters. Working on Sigmatree's video for Anniversary. Super cool. I love seeing videos from
Not
Alex.
doing anything. But jeez.
All right, you got flying pigs there.
I got Flying Pig. I have to tip my hat to Flying Pig, actually.
Yeah,
He's been in baseless, giving me some hard times about Rosen support, and that's something that we could improve. And that's actually one of the things I actually like about the idea of a flat peer-to-peer network, is that anybody can kind of come in and put me in check. So I really hope that long term we improve the support system on Rosen for the watchers, and kind of get better feedback to people out there asking questions. And thank you everybody out there that's been filling in. That's been incredibly helpful.
yeah. The good news is there's already been a little step, Joe. I jumped into the guard chat and I was like, look, guys, let's set up a weekly meeting with the guards and
Mhm.
the team, just so the guards are aware if something happens. Then we'll be around chat and we can step in. And while that's difficult, MHS Sam telegrammed me today, and he's like, "Look, we're gonna, try to enact a policy here or a note that says, when we get to that stage of something's going to happen or we're going to do something, we're going to
Mhm.
communicate it better to the guards right in the immediate, just so the
Yeah,
guards are aware." So that's
we
a
need
step in
that.
the right direction. Yeah, exactly. I mean,
We
there's
need that.
yeah, exactly.
I mean, I get it. It's just everybody's been building in multiple directions at once, and
Yeah,
bandwidth overload is a real thing. But I appreciate Flying Pig for calling us out there, because it makes us better, right?
it
Iron
does.
sharpens iron. So it looks like the delete backup as per Glasgow, then restore wallet with seed, then set wallet scan, something like that, to the height you want to start at. I've done this a million times, works great. So just need the fastest way to restore it. Then next we have Anon BR with Nautilus. It's released Abyss version 0.10.4, refactored proving implementation, fixed wrong ledger, data input serialization. Those of you that don't know, Abyss is kind of a parallel build that's was required by Google, that's been eating Anon burst time for too many months. But that's how it is. When you have that type of system support and they update, what they require, we got to adapt.
Yep.
With Fleet SDK, added arbitrary data signing and verification support for EIP 44. Community developer, since no bugs have been reported with the Nautilus Abyss in the past week, it looks like it's stable enough to be released to the main channel in the next few days. So basically, what happened with Nautilus Abyss was it was released under Nautilus Abyss, not Nautilus, so we could kind of separate that version, make sure that it's secure, get people to test it, then it looks like it's going well. So I have
Yeah,
to always tip my
I,
hat to Anon BR.
Yep. Yep. I've been running it. I like it. I like it. There were a couple connection issues at first that I popped over to the Nautilus channel, and the team took care of it really, really fast. And again, too, they added a new feature for the blacklist, essentially.
Mhm.
So if you got some BBC tokens you don't want to see in your wallet, you know,
You
if
want to hear something funny, QX?
yeah, let's hear it.
So this is a side note. I don't know how many people are actually gonna watch this, so it doesn't matter. So I was getting like spammed with this tip bot of all the
With BBC.
all the tokens, and I was in the Sigma's chat, and Rustin was like, "Hey, give me the BBC." So I just gave him my keys. So now if anybody tips me on that tip bot, they're actually paying Rustin. So cheers to that.
I'll drink to that. Oh,
Yeah, so
it was
send me tips on Acco's tip wallet because it goes straight to Rustin.
Oh, that's really funny. It was too much work to rug all the projects that donated tokens to you one at a time, so you just did it all at once.
Basically.
What was it you did? You accidentally sent like $1,000 of greasy sex at one point to somebody with a tip. You had no idea of the value of it. You just
No, I
fucking
don't
tipped it.
I don't really watch that. Like
That was great. I think it
I
was
don't
like
my time horizon is a lot different than other people's, and I
yeah,
accept
yeah.
that. It's not a bad thing. It's just if we're gonna try to deliver something that's useful, that's where my mind needs to be.
Yep. All right, we've got Louis Vatra with Padilla. Numerous front-end fixes, improvements. Yeah, they added that countdown timer, which is really nice on the proposals. Before you just had to kind of look at the execution time and try to find it and hunt through it, but now there's a really nice. Let's see if we can see it. I'll show you guys. I don't know if there are any votes up. Yeah, here's a Sigma thing, and yeah, you see this nice little timer right there, kind of thing. That's MG Pi for Sigma. Fantastic. All right, found a bug in invalidation of cache map versions of AVL trees, causing newer updated entries to not reflect in a timely manner in the UI, mitigated for now by forcing invalidation. Made big progress on the contract cleanup refactor front for release. Created a parameter for minimum stake for someone to be able to control a proposal, create a proposal with a max of half the total stake to allow a DAO to undo a poor configuration choice. Oh, good. Register handling done through functions rather than value assignment. For example, the stake state UTXO has many registers and is used as data input in many of the contracts by defining functions such as, and he's got an example right there. And putting them in shared libraries, it prevents mistakes and also allows to be used in maps on collection of boxes. Crystal Pool uses this method a lot as well. I think a lot of people might not understand how much room there is for error in something like Padilla. Like it is, I love giving Louis Vatra shit for when Padilla, but the amount of
Yeah.
nuances that could fuck shit up in this kind of project is immense. So bravo to these guys.
I really don't think people understand the complexity of Paideia
Yeah.
and what Louis is building.
Yep.
Like
Absolutely
long
amazing.
net long term. If I think 5 years, 10 years, that type of governance system that he's building is hugely valuable, and I don't think people understand how unique it is, or how valuable it is. But
I mean, it goes hand in hand with a peer-to-peer system and people's money.
I know.
I mean, it's what it is. It's like peanut butter and jelly.
Well, most there's a ton of users out there that I don't know. They want to say, "Hey, support peer-to-peer networks from the Coinbase wallet," right? And
All right, we finalized generic implementation of support for long-living contracts to automatically be updated when a DAO chooses to update a contract. or if a UTXO age passes 2 years. Working on treasury consolidation, so dust is automatically handled for DAO treasuries. Very nice. When possible, moving away from hard-coded indexes for data inputs and outputs to make contracts composable. Hope to be done with contract work by this time next week, so it is ready for community review, and we'll work on bootstrapping a final test version to test these fairly large refractors before moving live. I mean, guys, Padilla is absolutely fantastic. If you look, can I view all? Let's see if I can view all. I have a kind of a compressed view here, so these are all. There's no filter, but I mean, look what we've been doing in SIGs. We've been testing the fuck out of it with all. I'm still scrolling, man. Look at these votes. Crazy. So we're really testing the heck out of it, and it's been working fantastically well. You know, there are some issues with like the initial staking that we're growing pains past, but you know, we're taking the brunt of that pain for the rest of everybody so that it comes out smoothly once it's out of beta.
It's fascinating to me. I mean, how much of the world where, let's say, people that have some sort of stake in something, the best they can hope for is a conference call once a quarter.
Right.
But I mean, that's if you compare that to like Paideia and having like peer-to-peer voting and like real-time power in a network versus like, hey, we get a conference call every quarter. It sounded really great this time, guys.
And remember,
it's hard to even create a framework that people understand.
When I came back from the blockchain conference after sitting in that meeting or the panel that I was in for DAOs, I started calling everybody else CAOs, CAOs, corporate autonomous organizations, and that's exactly what they are. Yeah, these people were afraid. Like they were, you know, they asked one of the people asked me like, you know, what happens if the DAO token that you have for your DAO actually gains monetary value and people start trading it on the thing? And I was like, well, you know, if it happens and it's something that the DAO disagrees with, then let's just fucking slash the whole DAO and we'll start again. And like their eyes went all fucking wide, you know, and they're like, oh, you know, some people contribute more and they need more say and that kind of thing. I was like, okay, then they get 2 DAO tokens instead of 1 or something like. It's just a fucking foreign concept with these people. It's like
hard to explain.
Yeah, crazy.
Well, the thing is this: it takes responsibility, and that's uncommon. Just that. I'm not gonna say anymore. I'm gonna behave.
All right, you got C8 right up here.
All right, C8. I have to tip my hat to you for the Blockly and all of your side projects because I've been watching that, and that's something that I've been hoping for like 2 years.
Yeah, he comes out with Crystal Pool, and then he just like a day later after the Ergo hack, he's like, "Oh yeah, check out this fucking Blockly thing that I made." It's like, what the fuck?
Yeah, I got to be honest. That's not an Ergo hack submission, but it might be the Ergo hack winner from me.
Really awesome.
Yeah, so it looks like the Ergo script playground in the browser fixed the sharing link issue, implemented Blockly for multi-sigs with time lock, implemented proof of concept for no coding application. Check out the tweet for demo. Also try it. Yeah, I have to tip my hat. That might be, but the Ergo hack winner, even though it wasn't an Ergo hack.
Right in vote.
I listen. I'm the judge. I make my own rules, right? Crystal Pool proof of concept done for the iOS app. Check out the simulator screenshot, multi-sig in JavaScript. Example tests for signing different multi-sig transaction with Ergo libwasm Node.js. Check out the repo at GitHub. Created JavaScript test setup for multi-sig in Sigma State JS. And would appreciate some help on how to use this beautiful library. His kung fu is not sufficient. Well, it just means you need to train, right?
Right. All right, let's see what else we have here. We got some questions. Oh, we've got Maverick with Bober.
Actually, I think when I initially tipped all of the greasy snacks,
it's a Maverick, right?
Yeah.
So with Bober, LP unlock update. Working on multiple proposal versions to change reward allocation on LP unlock. The aim is to fix the lack of rewards for people providing LP and to better adjust to the others. We'll distribute voting tokens to holders proportionally and let them vote on it. Bulber Fun Activities started hosting poker nights on Sundays. Oh, that's tomorrow night. I'm going to try to get to that. And Wednesdays for people to get together and chill out. Halted the weekly puzzle events because they take too much time to prepare. If I want to deliver good variety, we'll transition to one big puzzle, one shot. Those puzzles are fun. I jumped on the first one, and I think I won the first one. I may have won the second or fifth. I can't remember. But one of them was really difficult. Got me really stuck up. Yeah, something like that. No. I mean, I won the first puzzle, and I think I won the fifth puzzle, the third or fourth week. I think I won 2 puzzles. Wait, I can check right now. Nah, now you got me thinking. Let me see. Bober. It's in my tip wallet, I think. I won. Yeah, I won the first and the fifth puzzle. Event winner. Oh, and I also have a Cyberverse Bober, Degen Bober costume. It's really fun. Okay, so that is that. Oh, Second TL Mining says hello, gents. Very active in our Sigmanauts. Hey, how you doing, buddy? In our Sig Mining channel. All right, we've got. Oh, here we go. Speaking of Sig Mining pool, that's all you, Joe.
All right, with Ergo Hack 8 submitted videos and text write-up. I tried to join on Twitter. It was a little crazy.
You did. You joined. You were there.
I was there, but I had connection issues, unfortunately. Hosted X Spaces to discuss the hack, as well as future features, deck pools integration, GitHub to add tokens for swaps for miners, buy renting hash rate, and mine to mint NFTs. Current development, integrating RSBTC into alpha update for the pool.
I did it. It's done. I'm mining it, and it's paid me out many times.
That's pretty awesome.
Yep.
You know, there's been 2 miners that for a long time was doing their Bitcoin swaps. So now we have a more clean.
At least it's still on chain, Joe. Right? We're still in the Ergo ecosystem.
It's hard to explain to people why that type of assumption matters sometimes.
Louis Vatra made me feel bad. He said I'm one of those people that swapped to BTC. He had to make sure to dig me, Joe.
It's all right. I'll see you in Vegas. I'm just kidding. Integrating RSBTC into the update pool. I think I just read that. Yeah. Developing more APIs for swaps to be used for Dash UI, which is awesome to see. Developing NFT backend to enable NFTs to drive swapping and minimum payouts for miners. Created GitHub for users to request tokens to the swapping mechanisms. This looks like completed the NFT front end. UI is usable to mint NFTs sent to miners' wallets. Coming soon. We'll be opening up the swap for a few beta testers. Ergot suggested we reward miners with RSBTC as a bonus and start a raffle. Successfully funded. Thank you, community out there for
we got over 200 ergs. That's great.
That's awesome. Should see RSBTC as random rewards to miners sometimes in the next week. Thank you to the supporters. That's awesome to see. You know, I've had to deal with mining pools, and I have to say that if I have a single party that I have a certain, let's say, dislove for beyond exchanges, it's going to be the mining pools because you know they don't really support the networks.
No, they're just a business. Yep, you got it.
Yeah. It's they don't try to grow.
Yep. And that's exactly what we're trying to fight at the Sig pool, at the Sig mining pool. We're trying to get people on, trying to create a community, get them interested in what they're actually mining, and get them to know that they can, you know, steer the network as miners.
Until you get close to that 51% threshold, I would say one of my actual biggest regrets, if I look back at like the history of Ergo, was not being more vocal for kind of community mining pools, right? I tried to be neutral because it was, you know, more politically correct, and that was it's the wrong choice. Like there's people out there that, you know, on the mining pool side that actually try to build value and build tools that support people, and then you have other ones that just don't give a shit. So,
you know, Joe, it's not too late. I mean, the community we're building at Sig's Mining and Mark's building here, and these guys in Second TL Mining, Alien, Mavericks in there, all those
Mhm.
guys. It's a great community, and
Yeah.
they're very interested in doing so. I mean, they're the reason that we won the community vote. That the SIGS mining pool won the community vote, because they're in there and they're listening and they're voting. So I'm very hopeful. I'm very
Yeah,
hopeful
my
that we
my
can
sing
collect
my
more
single
like-minded people.
my single biggest regret, if I'm honest about, like, my history with Ergo, has nothing to do with Ethereum Classic Twitter. It has nothing to do with any other drama than not supporting GitBlock, because GitBlock really was
I know,
it
I
was ahead
know.
of its time.
It was amazing.
It was
Shit.
amazing, and I should have pushed harder to be
Yeah,
like, "Hey, you need to support that miners because
yeah.
that's awesome."
I love
Um,
Get Blocked. Now I'm sad, Joe.
I tried to be nice, and that was my biggest mistake. So, no more Mr. Nice Guy, right?
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
everybody out there, please support Sigma Knots Pool. Um, they're doing some cool stuff.
Thank you, Joe. All right, we got Canon Q. The Field's a peer-to-peer pool pledging protocol where individuals can pledge assets, coins, or tokens to support a participant in a competition. Joe, we're stumbling over our words. The project will be DAO driven and open source. Maybe we should have done the dev updates before the alcohol. MVP smart contracts are complete. No adjustments this week. Few adjustments to guard bot scripts. The app front end UI integration is ongoing for MVP. Cursed Ergo Hack 8 and Life will be wrapped up soon. Testing some pools pledges this week, making sure basic mechanics work. Join us at this Discord to find out more and our volunteer to move the project DAO forward. You've got Josamai. Josamai's a really cool cat. I saw him in
Yeah, he is.
I met him in Vegas. Super, super,
You
super, super cool guy.
Well, I hope next time
You
we're
met
in
him in
Vegas.
Vegas too.
I
You
did.
saw him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we're gonna be in Vegas soon.
We're gonna be
With
in
Puerto
Vegas.
Rico.
I'm looking
So
forward
I
to.
really hope that people show up.
Yeah.
I'm not always the best at the booth life, but when I'm there, catch me. And
Are you talking? Who's talking? Anybody talking? Is Dan talking on the stage? Are you talking on the
let's
stage?
let's see.
Have you been invited, Joe?
Yeah, I tend to be like the guy that's like, "Hey, we need you," and I'm like, "Okay."
This chair's empty. Sit on it and talk.
Yeah. I'm always happy to talk with people about that. So, continued development on the reputational system integration. Continued working on the node to launch the single command on Ubuntu x86 and ARM. Redefined documentation for easier setup and usage. Project context. Looks like the network paradigm for Kubernetes, but operates in a peer-to-peer manner. It enables services to deploy other services dynamically. Um, Looks like it's not necessarily tied to Ergo or blockchain technology, but requires robust reputational system and payout mechanism. You know, that type of reputation system has always interested me, right? It's a long-term thought, uh, in terms of how you build reputation. If we look at like credit systems and a lot of the traditional finance system that everybody relies on is based on this idea of like reputation, which may or may not even make sense in some cases, right? I've certainly talked to people that they pay off debt and then their credit score goes down and they're like, what the hell happened? um, so having some type of decentralized reputation system is always, it's like a long-term problem that to me is fascinating. So like every ergo hack that I've seen, this reputation system is one of those things that I'm 2 days late just because of that, because I'm trying to figure out, okay, like what's the long-term dynamic effect of having something like that that's useful. um
No, these kind of things can be plugged into lending programs. They can be, like the
yeah,
uncollateralized lending program. Plug this API into that, and you have now a full-fledged recommendation system.
yeah, and how valuable is that if you get that right, you
Yeah.
bootstrap that long term. And
Yeah.
I don't know, I go off on my own sidetrack, and that's why I'm no longer an ergo hack judge. I
Joe,
blame the
I just
blame the reputation system because I'm thinking about like what are the long term effects of that, and
Yep, yep.
try, trying to create some framework that how I can judge that versus a multi-sig UI.
I just realized I'm a little tipsy because I'm speaking about Jamai, not Josamai.
Oops.
Jamai is a guy we saw at Vegas, not Josamai. Jamai is doing the Let's system. He entered Ergo hack but had to back out. But I'm looking forward to seeing what he can come up with a Let's system. So those things are amazing. You know.
That's another one of those long term things where
Yeah,
if you
yeah,
get that
exactly.
right on chain,
Yep.
the potential is huge.
Yep.
How do you grade that versus short term trade off? I don't know.
Let's see. I don't see a Cyberverse update, but I will mention them again because I love Cyberverse guys and how much stuff they pump out. I think they had 2 NFT projects that they did with Cardano recently, and they're doing some cross-chain stuff with Cardano too, coming up, which is super fun.
Yeah,
We had
yeah.
like
That
a
I've
music
I've
party that I jumped into the other night that was fun. We played a lot
I've
of
been
Sheep and Wolf.
I've been asked a couple of times by the Cyberverse community about Rosen support, and
Yeah.
I've always tried to maintain like if I see some serious development, because some things in crypto, they're created short term.
I don't think Cyberverse is short term, that's for damn sure.
No, no, but there's a lot of things in, if you look at like the proof of work side and like the energy input side and the time input side, they're short.
Yep.
Okay, we created a meme coin, we created a website, and now that's it, right? Versus like the development in the community of Cyberverse. I would love to support projects like that. So yeah, I'm gonna push for Rosen support for Cyberverse, and I hope that they go multi-chain, and I hope they succeed because I see a lot of cool things there. The ability to mine in game and all kinds of just
Yeah, you can build a fucking mining rig in game. It's like
mad concepts that I sit and I'm like,
deep
wow,
inception. Yeah,
who thought of that?
I know. Super damn cool.
So,
Super
so
cool.
I'd like to support things like that. So, that's one thing I'm gonna push with the guards is as we move into EVM, and we already have the Cardano bridge live, Bitcoin bridge live. I'd like to see Cyberverse integrated. That just 'cause they're building cool shit, and I like that.
They seem to never stop. They're building so fast and hard that they forget
Oh,
to
it's
do dev
an
updates. I
apartment,
mean,
but now it's a car, and now like
yeah.
now it's a shady dealer that's trying to teach people about
The
meme
shady
coins.
dealer, that's great. Yeah, yeah.
They're mining in game, and I don't have bandwidth to like track everything, but every time I see it, I'm like, what? So it's
The
amazing.
speaking of that, these two things weren't on the dev update, but let me mention them. So I what's it called? I said fuck it, and I wanted to do twofer. So Auction House came out with Trade House, which is a
Mhm.
book order system. Super fucking cool. I love book order systems
Peer-to-peer
because
books,
yeah, you
that's
got it. There's
that's
nothing better, man. You can see exactly when the price is going to slip. You can see exactly what's for sale, exactly what the bids and offers are for. It's like as clear as day. And you can just go there, buy what you need to buy what you can do without slippage, what you prefer, and it's done. It's fantastic. So I said, fuck it. Let's so I help out and Unreal on the Auction House Twitter. Um
mhm,
and just trying to promote it more. So I said, "Fuck it." I paid him to list Cyberverse token to be one of the first project tokens, besides Rosen, of course, on Auction House, Trade House, and I pumped about $800 worth of Cyberverse tokens onto the order book.
mhm.
So guys, go there, use it. I mean,
It's
yeah, I mean,
the thing
think about it this way.
sometimes
Sorry, go for it.
sometimes people don't understand the beauty of
I
Batman.
know, right? Yeah.
That, like, as it's hard to explain, but the beauty of an actual peer-to-peer order book
Yep.
versus having most order books that are
Centralized bullshit
yeah,
run
they're
by
they're more
one.
they're
Yep.
more or less dominated by market makers that are constantly
Yep.
counter trading you. Like, that's just how the game works,
Yep.
right? And seeing, like, an actual peer-to-peer order book on Ergo, oof. My heart melted. Thank God that wasn't an Ergo hack project, right?
Yeah, that would have won. That's for sure. That's funny.
Yeah, it would have
That
won,
didn't.
but Unreal didn't even submit it, so it is
That
what
is
it
funny.
is.
Yeah. What was I gonna say though? Shit, I forgot. There was something about the order book. Fuck, I've had too much tequila, Joe.
No,
I'm
it
really suffering
synchronizes
here.
well with AMMs.
Yeah, no, I was gonna say, like, even if you don't, like, even if you're worried about like losing money in liquidity pools, like providing liquidity, uh, all you have to do is, let's say the price drops on the liquidity pool, okay? Buy 50 ERG worth of tokens on the AMM DEX on Spectrum, go over to Trade House, and then just step your way up every, like, if it's like 10 cents, just make steps up for that 50 ERGs, 10 cents all the way up. You're gonna make a quick profit, because the token's gonna increase and it's gonna swap as it goes. People are gonna buy it, so it's a really simple way to do it. Price dips, buy on the AMM DEX, put it on in the order book, step it up, and you'll make a small profit if that's what you're in for. So it's really like, it's super simple once you get the hang of it. So I recommend everybody do that kind of thing. Those things are very important. And once you get the hang of it, you'll be like, oh, Jesus, I have a perfect visual picture of exactly what the slippage is going to be, what's possible to buy, where the depth is right here in front of my face on this chart. So
Yeah.
it's really a pleasure to use.
That was big. I don't think
No,
people
it's
really
huge, and it's like it just like went right under the radar.
understand it.
Yeah, yeah.
It's hard
That's
sometimes.
classic Ergo. These amazing things are dropped, and it's just like a fucking Tuesday.
Oops. No, it's true.
Oh shit. All right. It's we've only been going for an hour and 46 minutes. It's only 3:13 in the morning where I am, Joe. It's past midnight where you are.
Yeah, 113 here.
What do you want to close this with?
I would just like to say that, tip my hat to a lot of people in the ecosystem. One of my favorite things as we roll into the Ergoversary is that, at some point, Ergo was pretty small, right? And it's grown to the point where I can't even keep track of everything. I really can't keep track of, all the projects, all the development, all the kind of community that's growing around, and that's amazing because that to me says that it's growing and evolving and expanding beyond my control. And so I really hope that long term that continues to where I'm just lost in my own ecosystem, right? That would be amazing as we roll into the next Arrowversary. Is that I'm more lost. I don't know what's happening across multiple apps, multiple ecosystems, multiple communities, multiple Telegram channels, multiple Discord channels. And I become more and more of a stranger in the world that we're building. So I really have to tip my hat to all the people out there that are making that possible.
I feel like I'm the opposite of a lot of people that I see in the space, Joe. I feel you're the same way too. Is that nothing makes me more happy or happier than working on something, starting on something, and then watch it slowly slip from my control and my
Yeah,
grasp.
I
That's
love that.
fantastic feeling. It's a
I
fantastic
love
feeling.
that.
You
There's
kind
a
of just
break
sink
from a life
back
of its own.
and you just watch it just, take it away kind of thing. I get that feeling with a SIG mining pool. Like Mark the Shark is cranking in here. Second TL Mining is designing a really cool app. Aliens working on some mobile stuff. It's just fucking fantastic to watch this stuff just blossom and slip away.
Bro. Well, that's the beauty of a flat network, right? Is a lot of people look at me and they're like, oh, he's done X amount of development update videos and been in the Ergo Foundation and talked to the exchanges and helped been a part of this and this and this. But I'm just a peer at the end of the day, and I'm happy to just be a peer. So seeing things blossom beyond me to where I can't even track them, I'm not in control of them, and I get lost and then curious and excited about what's happening. That's really exciting.
We'll be really successful, Mark, Joe, the day that Mark doesn't know something about the Ergo ecosystem. That's when we've made it, Joe.
Mark, oof, good luck.
I know, right?
Good luck. Mark is a champ. I have to say that. I like have to tip my hat to Mark. That in terms of the documentation and everything he's put together in
Oh,
terms of the chats and
I don't think people realize the lift
no,
that he's done to do this.
people don't respect that work.
No,
But
no.
as a proof of work, I can say nothing bad about what Mark's contributed to Ergo. Probably one of the best choices I ever made was nominating him for the EF.
So it's your fault.
It's my fault. Anybody that has a problem with Mark just blame me, and I don't really care.
I've actually got a good question, Joe. Let me bring this up.
Yeah.
Let me put this up on the screen real quick. You can't see it, but I'll read it to you. Hang on one sec. Oh gosh darn it. The what's it called? The size resets every time I do this. There we go. Sorry guys, I wasn't prepared to put questions on the screen, but I'm working my way through it. Okay, this is from Daniel Japp. When Ergo gets sent to another blockchain and remains there for a significant time, is that Ergo still applicable to storage rent? And if so, how does that mechanism work cross-chain?
So if you look at the cross-chain mechanism, Ergo creates a synthetic asset on another blockchain, right? So the actual storage rent is subject to the activity of the wallet itself. So, in Rosen, we have this guard wallet, right? So every time there's an incoming transaction and a fee and things are updating or consolidating, it's managed on the Ergo side. And if we manage that properly, in-house on the Ergo side, it's not a problem.
Right, yeah. So I was responding in baseless what you were saying. I'm sure what you said was correct, though.
Yeah, well, it's one of these things where if you really look at wrapped assets, what they represent is a type of, let's call it a receipt, right?
Right.
And
Yep.
one of the beauties of how Rosen is built is if you look at how traditional, let's say a gold vault, right? Somebody has gold in the vault and they create these fungible receipts that are easier to, buy, sell, trade than carrying around gold because it's not heavy. Usually that's exploited because nobody can see inside the vault except for the vault owner. And so we built this layer called the watchers that are continuously auditing the system. And so you get this idea that's actually simple, but really beautiful, where you don't have rehypothecation. In an exchange, you can see how much is in the on-chain wallet, but because you can't see the trade engine and you can't see the indexed, let's say, list of users and their balances, and they're trading within that one wallet itself. So, like from an on-chain perspective, we can audit the wallet, but in terms of that inner wallet activity inside of an exchange, you can never actually see that. And so it's very reasonable to like assume potentially there's more assets being traded within that wallet that are being withdrawn from the wallet because more or less what's happening in the vault we can't see. So part of how Rosen was designed was to create this system where you have redundant auditing without rehypothecation. So you have this idea assets are actually held one to one, and you get this beautiful separation between, like, let's say, let's call it savings, or taking an asset and wrapping it, and then you use on-chain DeFi protocols to actually use these assets, and it's backed one to one because you can see the system because there's a separation between risk and actually holding collateral. And many times the ability to have like risk products and hold people's or users savings is intermixed. And so we really have no idea, are exchanges lending out your assets potentially and using them in some sketchy way? Or is this a FTX situation where there's just some black hole and they're just rugging everybody and doing all kinds of crazy shit that, eventually blows up? Who knows? You can't see.
No,
So
right. They could be leveraging your fucking unwrapped tokens that you've put in the wallet. Or who the
yeah,
fuck
I mean,
knows?
I mean,
Who knows
all
what they could
all
fucking do?
all an exchange wallet is a wallet with its own secondary index
Yeah.
that's hooked
Yep.
to it. That's basically running some type of spreadsheet that's running user accounts and assets and trading back and forth. And so long as they can cover the exit, Nobody knows what's happening in the back
Exactly.
end.
I mean, that's the beauty about Rosen. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
exactly.
that's one thing that was a part of my intent is we need a system that's not rehypothecated because every exchange that Ergo's listed on, I actually cannot audit whether Ergo's being rehypothecated or not. It's impossible to know because it's closed source. I can't audit it as an independent user, and even as somebody that helped integrate it, I have no oversight or insight into what's happening there. It's completely dark. So I think that it's better to have that type of collateral held in a way that it's redundantly audited. It's in the light. It's not being traded multiple times or lent out to multiple parties. And then you can use DeFi on chain that has its own level of auditing. But that's its own wormhole to go down.
Yep. Yeah.
Not popular to talk about.
We got another question. Looks like people are waking up in Europe.
Uh-oh.
I know. Fuck. HQ says, Uncle Joe, update on Hummingbird bot when?
So that's something that is ongoing, right? And so what Hummingbot does is we created a type of connector that works with Ergo decks, I guess they're calling it now, right? They've reverted back. But, basically it allows you to create this uniform trading platform long term where you can trade on multiple decentralized exchanges potentially. Rosen as a tool for let's say asset management cross chain is useful. But one thing that exchanges do really well is they create these APIs that allow you to trade in multiple environments at once and potentially arbitrage in multiple environments. And so we want to create a competing product that allows you to potentially use ErgoDex and Splash and Uniswap and even potentially exchanges because Hummingbird Bot is you know, supported in multiple environments where somebody can manage assets in multiple environments and trade against price fluctuations across market. Now, one thing that, if you look at Hummingbot itself as a company, it's actually split where you have like this open source side that's amazing and most of the code is available. And then they have their own proprietary market making solution. That's actually pretty reasonable compared to other products in the space, in my opinion. So it gives flexibility to projects that if they use Rosen for their assets, they can potentially outsource that to market making, firms, or they can run it in house. It gives them flexibility in terms of asset management. But I like the idea long term of creating this framework where there's some sort of equal power where you as a user, if you have the asset in multiple markets, you can actually compete with like corporate interests that are running market making
Yeah, right.
software. Who knows long term if we can get Rosen in multiple environments. I'd love to see a hackathon where it's like let's talk about open source trading,
Yeah.
strategies,
Yeah, I mean,
algorithms.
the trick is you need to make these things very, very user friendly. I mean, even Hummingbot at the current state it's in takes a
It's not.
little. No, it takes a
It's
little
not.
work to do. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not. I mean, they have a great community. They have a great website. If you join and you actually want to learn about it, there are people that will help segue you to kind of run that type of infrastructure.
Yeah.
But it's one of these things where like the barrier of entry can get easier.
Yeah.
And that's something that we
100%.
need to solve long term. But
Yeah.
as like an Ergo Foundation member, as soon as I sign with an exchange, they need like a market maker to plug in to you know fulfill order book maintenance and make sure that there's liquidity on markets within certain ranges that are based on the contracts. And so I'm trying to create some sort of parallel solution that doesn't cost as much for projects because that can get heavy really quick. And the only way to recoup the cost of that is to counter trade against your own community, which is a little sketcy.
Yeah. Fucking A.
That's just how markets are structured. I can't change that yet. Let's see.
I'd say anybody who has like, I don't know, being in these chats with market makers and with central exchanges, it really kind of opens your eyes quite a bit about.
Most of what I've ever done in terms of organizing projects and development and all of that has been born from personal rage.
Yeah.
Just rage. Like, why does Rosen exist? Because I've had to deal with, exchanges, and I have a certain, you know, I'll be nice anyway.
You
I
know
don't
that
wanna give
you know that guy at the frat parties that like always tries to get you to drink hard and it goes crazy and he's never fully drunk himself, but he always watches you guys get trashed and get in trouble. That's how I feel these market makers are. That's their personalities. Some of the central exchange.
throw as much leverage into the market as you can.
Yeah, so it'd be amazing if we could get Hummingbot to have this beautiful UI. Not even beautiful, just a simple AI UI that somebody can run an executable, choose their parameters, connect their wallet to it, and just hit go, and then just watch a little output. That'd be great. Bring down the barrier of entry for the
We
everyday
need to
user.
solve that long
Yep,
term.
yep.
That's the friction point.
We don't need to fucking pay these guys. Oh gosh, don't get me started on these.
Well,
We don't need to pay
in
these
the chat.
fucking market
You've
makers.
been in the chat now
Yeah,
too, so
fucking
I'm
horrible.
about 3 years ahead of you. So
Fucking terrible, man. I don't know how you even talk to. I don't even want to talk to another one of these guys again, for God's sake. But
it is what it is.
it is. It's required for a lot of exchanges, so it is what it is. Yeah. All right, good. I think the questions have stopped, Joe. So I think it's safe. I think we can go to bed.
3:30 there.
3:28. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm about to go cook some eggs and have that 1:30 breakfast.
What are you gonna make? You gonna make
Just
some?
eggs, toast, maybe some bacon. Let's see.
Oh fuck, that tastes good. That sounds good. You know what I love? I love what's it called? I make bread. So you just take a nice loaf of bread out of the oven, you slice it up, you put some butter on it, and then even old bread, man, you just take a nice thick slice. And I'm like this thick. You take a nice slick thick slice, you put it in, the little mini oven that's got a toaster on top, but it's got a door in the front, and you put little slices of butter on it, and you put it in that oven, and you just toast it for a couple minutes. You get the bread crispy, the butter soaks into the bread, and you eat. Joe, that's like the stuff of.
All right, so
manna from
QX
heaven.
started on Martha Stewart cooking channel. I'm gonna follow that. Be the first.
We can do a dev update cooking show next.
There you go.
Well, my wife's a fantastic cook. She could turn anything into
And
tastiness.
magic.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
if you can turn anything to magic, you better keep her.
Yeah, I'm married to her, so I guess I have to.
All right.
Oh
I hope
shit,
everybody out there enjoyed the dev update.
we've
What
gone
was what
two
was the number?
2 hours and 2 minutes, Joe.
What dev update number was this?
I think it's 121 because the last one was 120 with
121.
Christy.
Oof. Well,
That's impressive, Joe.
cheers to that. Thanks for tuning in, everybody.
Cheers, sir. Everybody enjoy your night. Ciao.